Christian Guzman has been a competitive bodybuilder now for over a decade. We've all had the opportunity to follow his journey through his YouTube series, The Summer Shredding Classic. He shared his physical and mental transformation from the start to the finish of his prep. But the question is, what happens after it? Christian has gained 50 pounds in just 3 weeks after his show, going from the leanest he has ever been to, well, 230 pounds of not so lean. But what people don't see and sometimes understand is what it takes to get to that level of conditioning, the sacrifice that it takes. This man prepped for 22 plus weeks. And in order for him to get to that point, he had to push his body to a place that it's never been. 22 weeks is a lot for anybody. But Christian isn't just anybody. Christian is somebody who puts the world on his shoulders and tries to take it on just like a madman, to be honest. So there's obviously a lot to unpack here. So let's break it down. But first, caffeine. Now, where were we? Oh yeah, 50 pounds. Okay, so there's no question that 50 pounds post-show is a lot. But it's not necessarily 50 pounds of fat, right? So let's pop it up here. The first 10 pounds is water, right? During a prep, and especially at peak week, water is manipulated drastically. The goal is to completely excrete all water subcutaneous from the body. And that's not easy to do. That takes not only limiting your water going into the show, for some people, it takes diuretics, and for others, it takes an extreme amount of dehydration in order to get to that level. So post-show, there's no question, there's gonna be a blowback. Think of a rubber band effect. When you pull it one way so hard, when you let go, it's gonna shoot back even farther. And that's kind of how the water manipulation goes when it comes to a peak week. So when you're tired, thirsty, when you get off stage and you drink 16 ounces, 24, a gallon, whatever it might be directly after a show, that rubber band effect is gonna be just a little bit more dramatic. And now the next 10 pounds, glycogen. The goal going into a peak week is to completely deplete the body of all glycogen prior to the final fill-up phase. Then just days prior to the show, you begin to introduce carbs that get turned into glycogen to fill the muscle out. That's when you hear somebody is full and round and bubbly on stage. But there is a certain point where you can eat past that point and then your body begins to spill over. And that is very common after a show, but it doesn't necessarily sit in the body as just fats. After a few days, it tends to break down. But when you keep eating, you know, that's where things get a little bit 50 pounds plus. You know what? Let me bring in somebody who might be able to explain this just a little bit better. What's up?
What's up?
So this is my good friend Chase, but also a coach on Team Reform. And like I said, he might be just a little bit better at explaining this than I am. So I'm gonna sit back, relax, and sip on my coffee.
So if we think about, if the muscle can't hold any more glycogen, what happens next? So there's only so many places that glycogen can be stored within the body. It can be stored within the muscle cell, but what we just said, that's topped off. Now it can be stored within the bloodstream, it can be stored within the liver, but if all of these different areas have no other capacity to store glycogen, there's only one other place that it's going to be able to go. It's going to be stored as fat. So of course, the first 10 pounds being water, the second 10 pounds being glycogen, but as we just spoke about, every single one of these areas can't hold any more glycogen. So if you think about the cell being a lock, and then you think about insulin, which is a shuttle hormone that's supposed to put glycogen within the muscle, if there's no more room for glycogen, we have the wrong key at this point. It cannot unlock the cell to put more glycogen within that. So at that point, that's where we start to get into some rough waters, because now all of that extra glycogen, it's going straight to adipose fat tissue. And that's where the big issue arises, because if we accumulate too much body fat at one time, or just over the period of weeks after weeks after weeks of continuing to top off glycogen, there's something called hyperplasia, which is kind of a scary thing. So if our fat cells swell so much and we accumulate all this body fat, hyperplasia is actually the division of cells. So as we accumulate this body fat, our fat cells can actually divide. So we can end up with more fat cells than we originally started, which makes, if we're trying to get into another prep or if we're trying to lose body fat again, it makes it that much more difficult.
And The craziest part about this entire process is the fact that a mistake during the most sensitive point that your body is going through can set you up for failure for not just the weeks to come, but forever. And that's where things kind of get a little bit rough, because there's no question, post-show, your body is extremely sensitive. And also, your mind is extremely sensitive. And during a time of a depletion phase, a prep, a lot of times you're thinking of what you can't have. So when you do have it, you get a little bit uncontrollable. So as Chase explained, it can be a slippery slope. But thanks for the assist, brother.
Always happy to help.
Now, let's be honest. It's not the healthiest for your body to gain an excess amount of weight post-show. It puts a lot of stress on your heart, liver, kidneys, and honestly, just a lack of confidence that you have in yourself when you're looking in the mirror. But on the flip side, I think any bodybuilder can relate to the level of sacrifice that it takes to get to that point. You sacrifice a lot. And some of that sacrifice comes to the people who you care and love around you. So when you get an opportunity to have a sense of normalcy, it's important to take a step back and enjoy those moments in moderation. But I can tell you this much, when you can actually turn your brain off and be a little bit less robotic, it just makes for a better version of you post-show. Now, trust me when I say, as a coach, I'm not the happiest with somebody who would gain that much weight after a show. But as a friend and somebody who has seen him sacrifice and push his body to a certain point and put everything else in his life on hold in order to reach a goal, I'm actually happy to see him happy again. He just got engaged. He is traveling the world with the person that he loves the most. And that's important. Take it from me. I understand the level of sacrifice it takes to get to a certain point. And I know a lot of you bodybuilders out there can relate to it. But when I put my coach's hat on, it's not healthy. And there needs to be some moderation around a post-show binge or post-show habits and eating in order to have a balance, but also enjoy yourself while making sure that you're setting yourself up for success later. So with that, here are a few tips that I recommend everybody taking post-show in order to set yourself up for success. And that leads me into tip number 1. Set a goal for yourself after the show. A lot of people lose a sense of direction after a prep because they are so focused on the prep, but then when it ends, what's next? But if you give yourself a short-term goal, whether it's a photo shoot, whether it's a vacation, something that forces you to still be confident and comfortable in your body, then you will likely have a lot more control over your eating habits post-show. Tip number 2, eliminate all of the temptations that are within reach. And trust me, this one was really big for me because I'm a snacker at night. So if you are somebody who also tends to get extremely hungry or their hunger cues start to ramp up as they get closer and closer to bedtime, trust me when I say, eliminate all the snacks, eliminate all of the pretzels, cookies, whatever it might be that is in your pantry that is binge worthy. Because trust me when I say, you're gonna find yourself wandering in there. You're gonna go in there with pretty good intentions, but you might leave with not the best stomach pains. You know what I'm trying to say. Tip number 3. And if you're watching this, I can guarantee you probably did this at one point. Stop looking up food challenges. Stop scrolling and saving all of the food that you're trying to eat post-show. Johnny, he's smiling behind the camera right now because I know he did it too. But guys, do yourself that favor, man. You are setting yourself up for failure. Stop watching Eric the Electric videos. Stop watching food porn videos. Just eliminate it, okay? Trust me when I say it. If you do not, you are going to be assisting the fatter version of yourself after the prep. Trust me, guys. It's not worth the hassle. And this leads me into tip number 4. Build flexibility into your reverse plan. It is not realistic for you to be as robotic as you were in prep. In a perfect world, yes, but we're humans. With that, there's human error. Guys, you are allowed to eat good. It does not have to be the chicken and rice every single meal. But what it does have to be is controlled. It does have to make sure it's macro friendly, but in the same breath, you're still getting satiated after you eat it. Trust me when I say, guys, as a coach, as an athlete in the same breath, I understand the importance of this. It's everything. That's why I always make sure that I am detailed, and I make sure that my clients have a snack of their choice in their plan. They have sometimes waffles, whatever it might be, something that's gonna help cure their cravings. Make sure that you set yourself up for success by being a little bit flexible early so you don't go off the deep end later. And last but not least, hire a good coach who's going to allow you to maximize the rebound, maximize your off season, but lead you in all phases from the prep to the post-show reverse to the off season, through it all. Guys, this is extremely important. Every single phase helps set you up for success for the next phase. And it is not smart if you want to make bodybuilding, or if you want to take it serious, or you want to see how far you can get. You deserve to make sure that you are doing it the right way. And if the reality is, we don't know it all. I'm a coach, and I still have a coach. I am a strong believer in that everybody should have consistent guidance, whether it's a prep, rebound, off season, it doesn't matter. Make sure you have a smart, educated coach who can guide you through all phases, who can help you manage the reverse, keep you accountable. And again, make sure you're actually enjoying the process, because that's half the battle, right? There's always gonna be sacrifice in this sport. There's no question about that, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it. So with that being said, guys, as always, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Smash the like button, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.